DCD episode 83. How you doing, Alexander?
Doing pretty well. How are you, Andy?
You know, fine. I always have to pause for it.
Well, that's good. This has been an eventful week. A lot of stuff going on. We'll get into that a little bit later. But personally, I guess we're gonna. I mean, you kind of have to touch on it in one way or another. It eventually it has to be addressed. You know, like it came up in a listener question, so I suppose we will. Get there eventually, but
you got to talk about that's the main thing going on in the country right now.
It's we were talking about a pandemic, and now nobody's talking about the pandemic anymore. It's kind of crazy how society has a one-track mind. You know, you can only really. It seems like we only focus on one thing every single week, and not much else. So that's. It's a little disappointing. You like to think that people will be a little bit more layered, have a little bit more depth than that, but then again, you know, some people they don't have the I don't know, they just don't have the interest in current events. Anyway, starting off with a regular segment this week. What have you been watching? What have you been playing, Andy?
I watched YMS, a YouTuber, released a video on Kimba the White Lion, and I guess I have to apologize. I said in the past, Lion King ripped off Kimba the White Lion. Don't really mean anything. I just threw it out there because people said that. But YMS released a 2-hour and 30-minute video debunking that theory and how Lion King and Kimba the White Lion are completely different.
Okay.
And then I watched Aziz Ansari's new stand-up special right now, it came out last year, but Aziz Ansari's special from last year right now. Patton Oswalt special, I Love Everything. Bob Rubin's special, Oddities and Rarities. I watched Bad Education finally. It's an HBO movie. Came out earlier this year. And then I watched Middleditch and Swartz, a improv special, a lot of comedy that I found that hilarious, and I think people should really watch it. It's on Netflix. Then I have my 1999 section. She's All That, Varsity Blues, and Mansfield Park. I watched Community, TV show. And then playing-wise, I've been playing Civilization Revolution. I beat Halo ODST and Halo Reach.
Oh, wow, okay.
And then, finally, I played Sonic Mania. That's it.
Well, Sonic, everything you played was good, but Sonic Mania is a real treat. I mean, as a Sonic fan, man, I love that game. It's so good.
I completely ignored what you said to play Sonic Generations. I played Sonic Mania instead.
That's totally a great choice, because if you asked me to pick two games to recommend to somebody who may not be into Sonic, I would say Sonic Generations, and then my second pick would probably be Sonic Mania, as I explained last week.
I don't know if I've ever crap talk Sonic on the show.
Sure, you have.
I know the movie.
I mean
the game.
You hate everything else, so why not? Yeah.
But it's completely different than I thought Sonic was, and it's not about speed at all.
No.
That's the whole gotta go fast. It's more about momentum.
It really is, yeah. That's a good point.
And it completely, I guess I've read the book by the cover. I guess it's a completely different game. It plays a lot different. It's not like Mario at all. I thought going into it, it'd be similar to Mario, which is to go from left side of the screen to the right side of the screen. But Sonic Mania, at least, the maps are so big and there's so many routes to take, and there is parts where there's speed, and it's really fun when you go super fast. But it's really all about the momentum. The music's great. It looks incredible.
Yeah.
It's a great game.
Yeah, Sonic Mania is amazing. They did a terrific job. And I feel like it's truly the spiritual successor to Sonic 3. I know they made a Sonic 4 on Xbox 360, PS3. It was Sonic 4, and then they put something after it. Oh,
it's episodic.
They didn't. Yeah, it was episodic. So you got episode 1, episode 2, and I don't know, maybe they went further than that. I played it through the first 2 episodes, and it just didn't feel completely Sonic. But then I played Sonic Mania, and I'm like, oh my goodness, these people nailed it. So definitely a good choice. So this week I have playing. It's only been Animal Crossing. That's it. I have not played anything else other than I played Madden one night. I streamed on my channel for the first time in a long time, and I played Madden for about 3 hours, and that was fun. That was a treat. Yeah. But
I fell asleep on that stream, to be honest, because
I am pretty boring.
No. I woke up at 6 p.m. And I stayed up to the next night, and then you started streaming, and I was up for over 24 hours. So
makes sense. I know how that goes. I'm pretty tired myself as we're recording this for various reasons. But yeah, that's really all I've been playing this week. And then I have been working my way through, the Jordan documentary Last Dance. Also working my way through Big Bang Theory. Started watching that recently with my wife. Trying to think what else I really watched this week other than, the traditional Adult Swim suite, I guess, is what I would tell you. Like, I've been watching a lot of American Dad, Family Guy, Boondocks, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Rick and Morty. I've been watching a lot of animated shows recently just to kind of get my mind off of all the, I guess you could call it the more mundane stuff going on in my life. The things that kind of stress me out.
Do you have HBO Max?
No, I haven't gotten Hobo Max yet, but
it's great.
Yeah.
Adult Swim's like hooked up to it. I mean, I think Adult Swim is free on like the Adult Swim app.
It is, and I was kind of worried because I had Hobo Now when that was like the thing, and now apparently it's Max. And I was kind of concerned when I saw that Adult Swim had a partnership with them, because I was like, oh, please don't tell me they're going to take some of the stuff that's on their website and their app for like smart TVs. And I use that app for smart TVs multiple times a week.
I mean, you talk about it every single week.
Yeah, and they put up, they kind of circulate content. So, for example, like American Dad, like you can see like the last 2 weeks of episodes that they've played. Or like Family Guy, same thing. So you might get a little bit of like newer American Dad and a little bit of older.
Yeah.
But what I really like about it is Adult Swim originals like Boondocks or Aqua Teen Hunger Force or Squidbillies. Max too. Yeah, you can get the full on their app. You can watch every single episode. But they're ads, but the ads aren't really that invasive. I think if I watch an Aqua Teen Hunger Force episode or a Boondocks episode, there'll be ads one time in the middle of the episode, so it's not that bad. But I was a little bit worried that they were going to take it off of there and put it only on Hobo Max, but it didn't work out that way. So good on them.
Yeah,
but I find that's really all I watched this week, other than Isle of Dogs, the
Film Club
DCD Film Club pick.
I find HBO Max incredible. I got it. They like similar to like Cartoon Network. They also have I have the Criterion collection or the channel, sorry, but they also are connected with Criterion.
Oh,
and like the movie selection is incredible on HBO Max, and then obviously it's HBO's. They make the best TV shows. They do. I mean, they've made some good stuff over the years. Like one of my favorite shows of all time is Mr. Show with Bob Odenkirk, David Cross. That's a I hope that's on the new streaming service. I would hope that people could. Yeah, I would hope that people could go back and see that. And then, they obviously mean like Game of Thrones, Sopranos, Sex in the City, Andy, Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah,
it might be the best streaming service right now.
It could be. A lot of people are raving about it.
It might be recency bias.
Mm-hmm.
Like, give it time, because it might be like Disney Plus. It might have this incredible launch, but nothing ever gets added to it, and it slowly goes stale.
Yeah, the thing with Disney Plus is I felt like it was great when it first came out. And I'm still a subscriber to it because, I have to have Hulu.
You watch Clone Wars?
Well, the wife watches Clone Wars and she's watching Star Wars Rebels now. So, I also watch the newer episodes with her. So, it paid for itself that way. And, I didn't want to buy the newest Star Wars movie, and for one night only you could stream it on Disney Plus as a part of that service. So on May the 4th, me and my wife sat down and watched the newest Star Wars movie. Didn't like it, and that was the end of that. But yeah, like originally, like it had this crazy catalog of old content.
Yeah.
And I feel like some people kind of like burnt through it really quick, and then they were like dissatisfied with the service. But I still think Disney Plus is a great service.
It's inherently flawed to the fact that they can't. It's of it being only Disney content. They can't have like a weekly release, or, I mean, they release short films all the time, little like 4-minute shorts. But it's kind of a flaw in the system.
No,
unlike
right.
HBO Max, which they have like several, we don't know yet, but like so far looking like they have agreements with other companies to put stuff on and like sure it'd be like a revolving door, because like Criterion doesn't have everything. The entire Criterion collection isn't on there, obviously, because then make the Criterion channel irrelevant. But I would assume it'd be like a revolving door monthly, like stuff comes in, stuff comes out.
If there's ever a point in my life where I feel like I can really, really get my money's worth out of it, I'll probably subscribe for a month and like give it a shot. But like as it is right now, I honestly feel like I'm subscribed to too many streaming services, and
yeah,
I very, very rarely use Netflix. And if people in my family weren't using our account, I'd probably tell Ashley we should cancel it. And I use Hulu for sure, and my wife uses Hulu for sure, and we use Disney Plus mainly because of things like Clone Wars and Mandalorian. But like there's like all this other stuff like WWE Network. I'm still subscribed to that. I really don't know why. For one pay-per-view a month, I don't know, is it really worth it? And then like you get into other stuff like I was subscribed to Stars for a while. Stars has a streaming app and service that believe it or not is really good. I really enjoyed it for when I had it, but I recently just canceled that. So all those streaming services, like it really starts to add up. It starts to get really expensive really quick. But
it's like type TV back in the day.
It definitely is. And like when people started talking about in like really I would say the early 2010s, people started talking about, well, TV should be a la carte, right? So like I should be able to pick the channels that I want and nothing more. And being someone who knew like I'm not going to go into why or how, but I knew executives that were in the TV industry at one point in my life. And they told me that that's just never going to happen. And the reason for that is because like Viacom is never going to let you buy MTV and Nickelodeon and none of their other nonsense. It's a package deal.
Not Viacom, but
no, it's a package deal, dude. You got to buy it all.
Sling TV, you can just pay for one channel. You pay for the channels you watch.
Yeah, and it gets really expensive really quick. And
unless you pay for like 2 channels.
Bro, I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, I knew executives. It's never going to happen that way. It's never going to work. And it goes back to Ted Turner. Back in the day, if you wanted to have CNN as a cable provider, you also had to have TBS and TNT. It was a package deal. Cartoon Network was the next one after that. So anyway, I digress. So that's my rant on TV. Moving into listener questions this week. We got one, and he sent in two, but we really can't talk about the first one because of the second question kind of trumped it, if you will. Daniel from at Reasons I'm Broke on Twitter asks for our thoughts on Sony delaying the PS5 announcement originally scheduled for June 4th due to the protests going on here in the U.S. Andy, any thoughts on that?
It's basic marketing.
Mm-hmm.
There's something in the news right now. You're not going to get any traction. There's not much of an opinion. It's basic marketing. You learn this in your marketing class. If there's something that is completely covering the news, or like, why would you release something? It's another reason why E3 is dying and why the directs are working.
You make a good point. With the directs, you're absolutely like hitting the nail right on the head. I think that's a really good point to make in specifically regarding this issue. I'm with you, Andy. I think that it's a great PR move for two reasons. Number one, it allows you to kind of make a statement that what happened, we all know what happened, that you're not okay with it, and that you probably agree with the people that are peacefully protesting. The people that are, inciting violence or destroying property, that's a whole nother issue that I really rather not get into here. Yeah. But I think that, like, if you're Sony, it's a no-win proposition to continue with your announcement on June 4th, because number one, nobody's gonna really pay attention because everybody's focus right now is on protests, what's gonna happen with the people involved with what caused the protests, and furthermore, you don't want to come out with a big announcement that looks like a celebration and look like you're maybe callous towards a certain movement. So I kind of get Sony's. I get their perspective. I also get EA's perspective. Like, personally, personally and selfishly, I don't like it because I want to know, what's coming.
I'm unaware of this EA thing.
So EA was supposed to announce significant details.
Madden gameplay? Yeah.
Yeah, that was supposed to be June 1st. And this was June 4th. It, like, selfishly, like, I am a little disappointed because, I was looking forward to it, right? And I think we all were, and it's human. It's human to be a little bit disappointed. But I think that it's also important as a human being to understand that, being selfish is not the right way to go. So, like, eventually, like, reason prevails in my head, and I go, it's not that big of a deal if we have to wait a little bit longer, if it's for a good reason. And I think that it is. And, I found myself going, well, it is disappointing because I was looking forward to it, but, it'll come, it's still going to be there. And I think it is important that we kind of focus on fixing what's going on in our country now. And it's certainly escalating. So the only thing I want to say other than that is I hope if you do go out there in public, stay safe. Don't do anything crazy because it's really scary out there, man. I watched some videos on Twitter.
Don't be an opportunist.
No, definitely don't do that. But, like, I saw some videos on Twitter that just, like, really had me shaking my head, that people would be so reckless and endanger themselves. And then I saw one video where I basically watched a video where a guy got killed, and I was like, oh wow, this is really bad. So it's really scary times. So be safe out there, and if you're gonna take a stand for something, take a stand, but try to do it in a safe way. I guess that would be my statement on it.
I mean, also June 5th.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's going to be focused on the newest season of 13 Reasons Why, season 4.
I didn't even know that was
coming out June 5th. The final season.
Are you going to watch it?
Yeah, it's the greatest TV show ever, Alex.
I remember the last season you watched it, and you were like, "Yeah, I kind of hate watched it." You told me that like I don't really like it, but I just watched it because I feel like I have to finish it at this point.
It's so bad.
Yeah,
But I don't. It's not even like a Tommy Wiseau is so bad it's good. It's just so ridiculous, and that the story is so. It's like they make it up as they're going, and it's just like it's you can't explain it. It's its own thing. It's terrible, but
I don't know. You kind of wonder if it'll. Well, it's probably too late for that, but sometimes I think like series like that, it takes them a while to kind of hit their stride. So like for example,
the final season.
Yeah,
but like
it's probably
each
too
season
late.
is
Like I
so
said,
complete different. They're never gonna hit their stride. Like the first season was about this thing. It's about this girl committing suicide, and then the second season it's about the trial of that. But then they kind of forget it. And then the third season has nothing to do with that at all. It's about this guy raping a bunch of chicks, and I have no idea what the fourth season. And then the guy that raped a bunch of chicks gets murdered. And the third season's about his murder. And now the fourth season, I have no idea what it's gonna be about.
Yeah, the first. So like I guess I was trying to say like maybe it's like something like the newest Sabrina the Teenage Witch, right, on Netflix. The first season it was kind of rough. The second season it had its challenges. The third season it really felt like it hit its stride. And I remember just sitting there saying like, wow, this show has really evolved in a good way and like really found out what it's trying to be. Like sometimes shows have those growing pains.
The Office, Parks and Rec.
The Office is definitely one where I feel like the first season of the American Office, it really struggled to hit its stride. And then in season 2, they retooled some things. And there's a lot of great videos and articles that have been written about that. And I think it really saved the show. You know, even like lower level shows that are kind of aimed at kids, Family Matters is a really good example of a show that like really when you watch the first couple seasons, you could tell they were struggling to figure out like what's the sweet spot for this show, like what do we really want this to
crazy
be. Well, then it gets completely crazy, and Urkel has like a teleportation pad, but at the same time
there's like the clone Urkel that's cooler or whatever.
Yeah, shout out to my friend Eric, who, by the way, I don't know if Eric listens to this podcast or not, but if you are listening out there, I know you're going through a hard time, buddy, and I feel for you, and I hope things get better, and I know that doesn't help me saying that, but I think about you a lot, bro, and I hope you're doing good. But he always used to joke about Family Matters. It's like the only show on TV where they had an episode about, like, Laura gets called the N-word at school, and then like the next episode, like Urkel has a jetpack or something. You know, it's like it's so all over the place. And I always thought like when he told that joke, I'm like, wow, you just basically summed up Family Matters in a sentence. It's like one episode, that's kind of how crazy a lot
racial
of
TV shows are like though. There's no overarching story in most TV shows.
You know.
Or not most TV shows, most sitcoms.
It's funny you say that because you're right. They kind of throw like so like Family Guy kind of makes jokes about it every once in a while. The Simpsons definitely made jokes about it. Like they would break down Community's another really good one where like they would break down the fourth wall and they would talk about how like, oh, next week like none of this will matter.
Yeah,
you know, and it's the truth. Like it gets completely thrown out.
It reminds me of the South Park bit where they do an episode and like every time they bring up an idea, I forgot who does it. And like the Simpsons already did that, and like they keep on doing stuff, and he's just like, the Simpsons already did that.
Yeah, it's like the little character, and he always says the Simpsons did it. I mean, South Park made fun of that premise on shows like where there's no overlapping story arc.
I mean, there's kind of some seasons where there's an overarching story.
Well, there is, but like the early South Park where Kenny dies every single week, but then the next week he's right back, like that's a joke about like how sitcoms kind of throw everything out the window once a week. But still a great show. So anyway, that's it for listener questions. Didn't get any other than that, I think, this week. If I missed any, like, my bad. I
don't think so either.
Yeah, you can always tweet us at Dead Channel Duo, or you can email us at Alex or Andy at deadchannelduo.com, and we'll take your listener question that way too. So, before we get into DCD Film Club, I did want to...
topics.
Huh? Oh, okay. Well, then go ahead, Andy.
No, you go ahead. You're leading somewhere.
Oh, I wanted to ask you about the proposed restart of the NBA, where it would all take place in Orlando at Disney. How do you feel about that? Are you familiar with the proposal?
I mean, whatever gets basketball back. Sure.
Okay.
I don't care if it's back, it's back. So now it's not.
Okay.
At this point, it's been so long. Like, I just don't care.
Yeah. How do you feel about the MLB coming back with a prorated, like, shorter season?
I hate it. Pay your players.
Ooh, that's a good take. Yeah.
It's stupid. The owners make billions and billions of dollars.
Isn't that money supposed to be guaranteed? I guess
owners
make
billions and billions of dollars every year, and you can look at the Tampa Bay Rays as the best example, where they don't even pay their players to begin with, and the owner makes a buttload of money. It's just one season. Sure, you're gonna take losses, but I feel like you're gonna lose more money if you don't play the season at all.
Yeah, and I think that it's kind of interesting to think about because, like, theoretically, if you piss off the players too much...
Yeah, what if all the players just decide, you know what? No, we're going to play for a different league.
Well, that's what
we're
I was
going to
thinking.
Japan and play for Nippon.
Like, what if the players say, you know what? Like, screw it. We're good.
Yeah.
That could be really damaging to the sport.
That's kind of what's going on right now. Like, Max Scherzer made a big tweet about it.
Yeah, Max Scherzer had a good take on it. And I agree with him. And, I don't remember which player it was, but he basically said, like, we agreed to a prorated amount.
It was plays for the Reds.
Yeah.
Trevor Bauer.
Yeah, and he basically said, like, that's enough, and we're not going to take another cut because us even going out there, we're putting ourselves at risk more than just staying home. So even if it's an empty stadium, like, pay us. And I get that.
So. It's stupid. And hockey is doing the best of all of them. 2014 playoff. They're just going right to the playoffs. 2014 playoff.
Yeah, but I was really confused by it. Like, I watched it and I had to, like, reread the scenarios multiple times to, like, really fully understand what they were doing. So, like, my only criticism, like, I totally, like, now that I understand it, I like what the NHL is doing, right?
Yeah.
But for the casual fan who probably wouldn't take the time to reread it, it's confusing as hell. And
NHL doesn't
Bettman
really have casual fans, though.
Bettman even said that in his press conference. So he said, like, as if what I just told you wasn't confusing enough. Here's what we're talking about with the draft. So,
but then, I mean, at least in America, there's not really casual fans for hockey. You're
probably right.
You either watch it or you don't.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think people would watch it. So if I was the NHL right now, I would want desperately. I would want to be back as soon as possible because I don't know if you've seen this. NASCAR's ratings are through the effing roof right now.
Yeah.
Because they're the only thing on. So if I'm the NHL, I'm looking at this as a way to attain new fans. Like, I want to be on the TV and I want to be on there now. So, like, I get their strategy.
I mean, also there's other way like MLB.
Mhm.
Baseball's already a dying sport, and they're fumbling
It's
this
not
so
a dying
bad.
sport.
It is.
The
And
only
it's
people that
they're
say that
fumbling
the
this.
only people that say that are younger fans like yourself who want to throw all tradition out the window, and I hate hearing that.
I mean, the numbers are down.
No, it's still
The only thing up is homers.
Oh, good God! Where did you get that talking point, Jim Rome? Like,
I just said it as a
my
meme.
God,
There's
it's
more
not a
homers than
dying
ever.
sport. It's not a dying sport.
It
It's not
is.
a dying sport. The only people that say that are younger people who don't like the tradition of the game and want to do DH for everybody and do away with batting orders. Let them just pick the best 3 players and they just bat over and over again or whatever. Just like throw all tradition out the window. But it's a dying sport and everybody's bored.
It is a dying sport.
Bunch
2,
of
you're
kids.
exaggerating everything.
You're a bunch of kids.
Yeah,
No
you say that.
patience.
My DH thing is I said, and I quote, I just want it to be universal.
Mm-hmm.
Either have it or don't.
It shouldn't be in there. Period.
But things have to evolve. The 3-point line is now there. Always been there. When they involve the 3-point line, it's tradition of basketball. All points are 2 points. Oh, you can you can dribble and move around. Whoa. The original rules of basketball, you can't move when you have the ball.
Well, okay.
You can only pass or shoot. What is this? Sports evolve, Alex.
Yeah.
And either it evolves for the better or the worse. If it stays the same forever, it's eventually going to die like baseball is currently doing.
No, it's not.
And they're fumbling this. Makes it look even worse for them.
It's not dying. It's not dying. It's not going anywhere. And I'm so unbelievably tired of hearing younger people say
MLB total attendance has declined 6 of the last 7 seasons.
Okay, well, I bet you a lot of other sports have had their attendance decline too because it's more fun to stay at home. The NBA's attendance numbers haven't been great.
But the NBA's booming.
Who wants to pay? The NBA's booming because of TV deals. The gate isn't the money. It's no different than professional wrestling. The gate is icing on the cake. You don't make all your money at the gate. It doesn't work that way anymore. NBA teams make way more off of revenue sharing and TV deals. MLB teams make way more money off of revenue sharing and local TV deals. Example, Yes Sports pays a buttload of money every year to be the exclusive provider of the Yankees. Then they have MLB Extra Innings, a service that's available on every cable provider where you can get out of market teams. They get a chunk of that revenue too. So you get the local money. The Marlins get money from FSN, Fox Sports. Probably not much because it's the Marlins because they stink. They're terrible. But you know what? They get some money. Then they get the revenue sharing money. And the gate is just icing on the cake. It's not the be all end all. And it's not an indicator of the sport dying or not dying.
Yeah, but
when they stop paying money for it to be on TV, right? Or when they start showing it only on tape delay like the NBA in the 70s, then it's dying. Until then, it's a bunch of 20-somethings.
So you're saying coronavirus
saying it's
isn't
boring.
I did not say that. You're putting words in my mouth.
Well, I'm speaking in generalities. I'm not speaking just about you. But it's a bunch of 20-somethings saying the game isn't entertaining enough to captivate a younger audience, and therefore it's dying. And that's not true.
I mean, the youth isn't watching it. And then when the youth get older, they'll be the majority.
I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to look at more information to make a solid argument against that. But I really don't feel like that's how it is.
And also, like the tape thing, it's like saying coronavirus isn't a big deal until everyone has it.
So if we're gonna make that comparison, the CDC's latest figures on coronavirus would indicate that more people in the population had it, didn't have any symptoms, and that's it. Like it's more 35% is their latest estimate. 35% of the American population had it, was asymptomatic.
It's still a big
and
deal,
that's
though.
it. Well, I don't know. Don't know. I just infuriates me. I hate talking baseball with anybody anymore. I really do. Because all I ever hear is it's a dying sport, it's a dying sport, it's a dying sport, it's a dying sport. I've been hearing that since I was a little kid, and it's still here, and it's making more money than ever. The players are making more money than ever. The owners are making more money than ever. The agents are making more money than ever. The TV deals keep getting bigger and bigger, but people keep telling me it's dying. How does that factor out? That makes zero sense. If it was a dying sport, nobody would be paying a pitcher who pitches every 5 days $30 million a year. Oh, and by the way, he doesn't have to hit anymore because everybody wants a fucking DH.
Not everyone.
Everybody wants it. All the young people want it because they're bored and they want something that'll captivate their attention so they don't look at their phone every 3 seconds. Like I
don't think that's the main thing. I think the speed the game up pitch counts more.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I totally agree with that.
For that.
I mean, I like the idea that they had where, originally in the minors they were basically on like a shot clock. You had to pitch within so many seconds. I like that. That's good. Speed up the game. Because earlier on, when I was a kid, games used to go by a lot quicker because there were so few pitching changes. And then over the years, you would have these guys come in like lefty specialists. And they would come in, they'd pitch against 1-2 batters.
And then they rule against that now.
Yeah, the new rule, I love that rule, where I think the new rule is you have to face at least 3 batters.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, so like that's a good rule, and I like that. Keep the game fluid, right? And keep it moving at a normal pace, but we don't have to do DH in the National League. Like let's stick with tradition. Tradition's part of what makes a game good.
It's just like ever evolving.
Tradition.
Football changes year by year.
Okay, yeah, but tradition. It's good. Keep it. Keep the good bits. Get rid of the bad bits. That's my saying. All right. Well, speaking of bad bits, my least favorite segment on this podcast over the last couple of weeks, DCD Film Club. This week we're covering Isle of Dogs from 2018. It's an animated film. It's Andy's pick, and it has a voice crew that is like unbelievable. It's directed by Wes Anderson. It's animated with stop motion animation.
I have a whole thing, but you can.
You go right ahead, Andy. It's your pick.
Isle Dogs 2018, directed by Wes Anderson, starring Bryan Cranston and Koyu Rankin. The guy who plays Japanese kids. I probably butchered the name completely. Mm-hmm. And they're surrounded by this incredible cast, as you said. It's a thing you get with Wes Anderson movies. Wes Anderson's a big time director. He gets big time casts. It's just a thing that happens in all his movies. Story about a city in Japan banning dogs to Trash Island, and a little 12-year-old boy journeys to find his dog Spots. It's a stop motion animated film, which I find incredible. I grew up with Wallace and Gromit and like Chicken Run. There's something about stop motion that I find so enjoyable to watch. I used to watch these stop motion videos of people doing wrestling matches with their WWE figures. And I would watch these I'd watch these all the time, like all day. And I don't know why it's so like captivating to watch stop motion. This movie I find jaw-dropping. It's so beautiful. It's one of the best looking movies I've ever seen in my entire life. It's probably alongside Blade Runner 2049 is the best looking movie I've ever seen. That's the first thing that sticks out. And then you have the score. The score is so incredible. The mixing of like the Japanese drums and the Japanese instruments, then to mix that with like the psychedelic rock they play throughout the movie at some points while they're like journeying. The guy that did the score, Alexander Desplat, I butchered the name. He's one of the best. He's one of the best in the game right now, and he does another incredible job. And then the editing for this movie is great. For example, like the beginning when the pack of dogs run into another pack of dogs, and they find that they're about to fight over this bag of garbage. And they open it up and they're explaining what's in the bag, and it quickly edits them fighting, or quickly cuts them fighting. There's a ton of like visual gags and editing things like that that makes this incredible. And then on top of that, the pacing of this movie, you never feel lost, you never feel bored. You're always waiting to see what happens. So on a technical aspect of this movie, it's a complete masterpiece. I do have some issues with the movie, but like technically speaking, acting, script, everything, it's incredible. Visuals, audio, everything. A lot of people complain that this movie complain that the Japanese characters are not subtitled. I don't personally see a problem with that. You can still tell what they're saying, even though there's a language barrier. We still get the point based off like music cues or like the conviction in their voice. And then it also creates this like unique thing where the dogs speak English and the Japanese characters speak Japanese, and they don't understand each other, similar to IRL. We don't understand dogs and dogs don't understand us. So it creates this, unique perspective. Another complaint I see a lot about this movie is that all the dogs are pretty much the same dog, or pretty much the same character outside of Chief. But that makes sense if you look at it in the way that Chief is a stray and all the other dogs are house pets. So they all act the same, and Chief is so different compared to them because he never grew up as a house pet.
Yeah.
But with that said, I do have some complaints with this movie with the fact that most of the characters are completely one-dimensional outside of Chief. All the characters never grow or change throughout the movie, besides Chief. Another complaint I have is that there's no main protagonist. If I had to pick a protagonist, it would be Chief, but the story plays out to where Atari's the protagonist, but Atari never grows or does anything. So I struggle to find a main protagonist in the movie. And Atari is hard to connect to because of the language barrier, and also that he doesn't grow as a character. Going back to the visuals, I love whenever the screens are on the movies. It's a 2D animation, and it creates this like unique look of like the stop motion 3D animation and the 2Ds on the screen. And there's a lot to appreciate with the claymation or the stop motion. Sorry, like there's stuff you can do in 2D animation you can't do in 3D animation, vice versa. But there's things you can do in stop motion that you can't do in other forms of animation, like tears, for example. Tears look incredible in stop motion, and you can't really replicate that in 2D and 3D animation. And I just love the world building in this movie, and it creates this ridiculous plot that seems so natural in this world. And I'll leave off on this last note. The sushi scene in the movie is great. It's like, it's not really the eye of the duck because it's meaningful in the story. you know. But the sushi scene is incredible.
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel bad. I disagree. Like, I think that this is not good. It's one of. I feel like Isle of Dogs is probably one of the worst things that we've covered on this show.
Yeah.
Yeah, period. And like, the animation's not good. I had a lot of issues with, you talked about one-dimensional characters. Definitely a major issue all throughout. No real character development. The voice cast is good, I guess. But I do, Yoko Ono is in this. Nobody likes Yoko Ono. So that's another negative mark.
She plays a meaningless character that's only in there for one scene.
I mean, but why put her in there? She broke up the Beatles, and now she's involved in this travesty of a movie. It's just bad. I mean, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
That was my Andy impression. This wasn't my
Really?
pick.
My Andy impression?
Yeah.
It's not even close.
Everything sucks. I didn't pick it. It sinks. It's terrible because I didn't pick it. Or if it wasn't like a fan pick that was a yogurt movie, it stinks. No.
Not even close to being true, but
I had to give you a little bit of shit. I mean, come on, man. I'm just giving you a little bit of shit. It's all good. Just kind of like the baseball thing. I'm just giving you a hard time. So this is really good. Like, I really liked Isle of Dogs. I knew nothing about it going in.
I was mind blown by you hating it because you've seen it. You've known. I mean, when you first watched it, you've seen it before. You watched it when your wife was getting a tattoo.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So that's why I was so like mind blown. It wasn't the fact that you hated it. It was the fact that you liked it. All right, you told me you liked it last week when I picked it. You were kind of excited to watch it, and then you were like, "Oh, it's bad." But then you weren't like making any like points, kind of.
Yeah, like, I know. I was just, I'm just.
But then you brought the one-dimensional thing is like a true concern with the movie.
I would actually disagree with you on that, but I'll get to that in a moment. Yeah. But
right. Go on.
Like, overall, this is something that wasn't even on my radar. Like, I knew nothing about this going into it. When Andy initially sent it to me, didn't even know this movie existed. Had no idea what I was going to be watching. And I just kind of watched it on a whim. I don't even know if we were doing this podcast yet. I don't think we were. So in about 15 minutes, it took me a while to kind of gain my bearings and fully understand what was going on. Like, that's one thing that I guess I would tell people is when you watch this, like, be aware that Andy kind of talked about how the premise of the film is kind of a weird one. And it is. So, like, it could throw you off a little bit. But I would tell you, like, just be patient. And it eventually all makes sense. And it leads to this really great story. The voice acting in this is really the first thing that jumped off the page for me. You've got some great cast members in here. Bryan Cranston, Edward Norton, Bill Murray, Jeff Goldblum, Scarlett Johansson, Yoko Ono. That's terrible. But everything else is really good. I mean, when you look at the voice cast on this film, there will be at least a few people that you go, "Oh wow, I didn't think that was them," or "Oh wow, I'm surprised that they would, be in this stop motion animation film." So yeah, really great cast. Tells a good story, and I like I guess the moral behind the story is that loyalty goes a long way, and being loyal to the people that you love is the right thing to do, even when it's maybe the not popular thing to do. Like Atari definitely goes against the wishes of, the people around him by going to try and find, his dog. And then it leads him to like, I guess you would say even an even greater moral, like understanding that there's this group of dogs that have been wronged, and Atari takes it on himself as like, well, I'm gonna help them right this wrong. I'm gonna help fix this injustice that's been done to this group of beings, if you will. I think that especially in today's times, like that's a really good lesson to have, of like, you should always think about the people that are maybe being marginalized in our society. So really good moral there. Great storytelling. Animation was terrific. Score is outstanding. Like, it really, really jumps off the page, just like the voice acting crew. And I would disagree with Andy. I think that there is a lot of character development throughout this film. I think Atari understands the one at the beginning. I think he's only in it for himself. I think he's only trying to get his dog back, right? Then he gets there. He realizes there's all these other dogs. I need to help them out too. And they're helping me, so I should help them in return, which is a little bit of development, but I mean, it's still a quid pro quo, right? Which isn't really like you being merciful or a good person, right? It's just you saying, well, I'm going to help them. They scratch my back, I scratch theirs, right? By the end of the film, Atari is pretty passionate about the cause of fixing this situation for this group of dogs. And he's also learned to let go. Atari could have easily been like, I guess you could say like bitter towards his dog for moving on, having his own family, not wanting to come back home. But he isn't. He lets go. And, Chief ends up kind of, I guess, filling the void, if you will. And, Atari then also goes back and kind of explains how dogs have been wrongfully vilified by society. And I think that's growth. And I think that's a worthwhile story to tell. And I'm surprised Andy thought that it was a one-dimensional character. But, I mean, agree to disagree. Overall, there's not really anything that I can pick at with I Love Dogs. It's weird. The premise is weird. The story, as Andy mentioned, is kind of larger than life. You couldn't, like, it's a very odd scenario. But it's well done. And I think it tells a good story, has a good moral behind it, good character development, amazing score, great animation. If you haven't seen this one yet, I tell you, go out there and make a point to see it. And here's what I really liked about it. It wasn't too long. It's only an hour and 40 minutes long. So it doesn't take 3 hours to get to this, major watershed moment or anything. It tells a story. It's good. It's really all it needs to do. I gave it an 8 out of 10. And as I said, if you haven't seen this already, go out of your way and check it out. I would assume it's pretty affordable to get at this point, since it's been about 2 years since it came out. So yeah, it's Isle Dogs.
9 out of 10.
It's fair. It's fair. I will say this, probably the best animated movie I've seen in a long time, other than Sonic.
It's adult animation too. It's not anything we've ever covered here, and it's not really a popular thing. Animation made for adults. This isn't a kids movie.
Yeah, I would tell you not to have your kids watch it, because there are
it's rated PG-13.
Yeah, there are a few moments that I would say would be a little disturbing to a kid.
In other countries, it was marketed as a kids movie, which it's not a kids movie at all.
It's so far from that. It's so far from that. I mean, like, Atari gets injured, at one point, and I remember watching it, I'm like, am I gonna watch a kid die?
Yeah.
I was like, this is like kind of dark, this could not be a kid's movie.
I mean, I hate when movies treat kids like they're idiots. but at the same time, kids are kind of stupid, and I don't think that they would follow it, the multi-layered story of this.
No, I don't think that. I don't think they would follow it, and like I said, there's just a few moments in here that are like, or
at one point a dog's ear gets ripped off.
That one, or like the moment where he thinks he found his dog, but it's like just kind of like bones in a cage.
Yeah.
And they find the collar and they're like, yeah, he's gone. He died in the cage. And like the movie kind of like heavily insinuates like he starved to death inside of the cage. Like, it's kind of dark. I wouldn't want a kid watching it, but it's really good. I would tell, like I said, I would tell you, if you haven't seen it, go out there, check it out. It's good. Buy it.
Try it out.
Don't stream it. Yeah, try it out. So yeah, that's Isle of Dogs, and on to my pick for next week.
Yeah.
Yay indeed, because we're gonna watch some dumb stuff. Because
Battlefield Earth 2, you didn't even know it was out.
I wish Battlefield Earth 2 was a thing, because I would totally pick it. So my pick for next week, because I don't like this segment anymore. I don't like that everything gets just a big steamy dump on it every week. Everything does that isn't something that's from yogurt, and I'm sick of it. So
it's just blatant lie.
It's not a blatant lie. It's the absolute truth. I mean,
there's Apocalypse Now, Goodfellas, 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah, you know what?
American History X, even though I didn't like it, the fans did.
Well, American History X is amazing. It tells you American History X is more relevant than ever right now, in my opinion. But you know, everybody would probably disagree with that. But
so is Fruitvale Station.
Yeah, Fruitvale Station definitely. Oh god, that's good. That's a good one. I would tell people you got it. You got to check it out. But yeah, you know, that aside, my pick for next week, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter from 2012. So that's what we're watching this week. And until we discontinue this segment, I know Dumbest Sphinx tweeted what I said I wanted to have tweeted. But you know what? Everybody took a big steamy dump on the cable guy, and that makes me angry.
Did so everyone
I'm going right
though?
back to no, they all did, and all three listeners, other than Daniel. So until
I mean, I only ever see Sphinx as a response.
Until DCD Film Club is canceled, okay, and we stop the segment altogether. We're just gonna watch garbage every time I get to pick, because then you can take a big steamy dump on it and it's no hair off my back. But I refuse to pick anything that I consider to be worthwhile and then have it dissected on this show as if it's junk, because that's what happens all the time and I'm sick of it.
You can dissect my picks.
Go watch yogurt movies.
You can treat my picks
The
like they treat your
Favorite
picks.
or whatever. Whatever the one is where he's spinning around in a room with a rifle.
That's the one we picked.
I don't even know the name of it. I forgot. It's so awful. I've already forgotten.
There's been 70 Film Club picks, and you act like 2 are the only people that I enjoyed.
Yogurt stinks. He's terrible. Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
More hits than misses.
It's good. It's really good. Tim Burton was involved. He wasn't a director, but he was a producer.
That doesn't mean anything.
It does to me, because Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter is amazing. Better than any yogurt movie I've ever seen. Anyway, it's also historical. It's a documentary.
No, it's a mockumentary.
No, it's a documentary. These are events that happened in real time. Abraham Lincoln not only unified a country after the Civil War, he also hunted vampires. An American hero.
He also died by getting beat in the ass with a hammer.
I don't believe that's... I think you're...
No, that's factual.
No, I think you're misremembering.
Abraham Lincoln died from someone hammering him in the ass too hard.
Explain?
Someone took a hammer and hit him in the ass so hard he died.
That doesn't make any sense. I really believe he was... Well, I'm going to look that up. We're going to fact check that after this episode's over. Anyway,
look up WKUK Abraham Lincoln. That's just as much a documentary as this is.
Okay, I see what we're doing. You're already complaining how bad this film is.
I love Whitest Kids You Know. It's one of my favorites. It's my favorite sketch comedy shows of all time.
No, but
to put
for
the
you,
Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter
you,
on the same pedestal as WKUK, something that I love,
I don't think
actually
so.
a compliment more than a complaint.
Well, we shall see what happens next week. I'm gonna say Andy's gonna give it a terrible review, and I'm gonna give it a good one. And all of you that listen, other than maybe a few, will all agree with Andy because apparently he knows everything about everything there is to know about films, and I stink, and so do my picks. So enjoy Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. It's a treasure. It's a treasure. I look forward to it being put in the Library of Congress in the near future. It's just a matter of time. But yeah, that's going to do it for DCD, whatever the hell this episode is. I think 82. I could be wrong. 83? 84? I don't know.
I'm not helping you.
It doesn't matter, and I don't care. Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. So wrap up. As always, you can go to the link in the description, and you can buy a T-shirt. And if you buy a T-shirt, we get like $3 or $4. And if you're still worried about the pandemic, I don't think anybody else is at this point because we shifted our attention to new stuff. So. Yeah, you can buy a face mask. There's a Dead Channel Duo face mask that you can buy in the store, and we get $4 for that. That'd be kind of cool. And then you can also go to patreon.com/DCD podcast. You can support the podcast there for as little as $1 a month. You get early access, all kinds of other great perks. You get to submit your own DCD Film Club pick every 3 weeks. You get to pick something that Andy will just take a big steamy dump on every 3 weeks. And that's great. Who doesn't love that? I mean, I get to do it every 3 weeks, and I love it. It's the highlight of my week.
It's not even
so
true.
I want to thank.
You're just blatantly lying at this point.
I want to thank all of our current Patreon supporters. Got Dumbest Sphinx in the egg tier. Got Jared, Daniel, Bobby, and Drake in the gold tier. Thank you so much for your support. We appreciate that.
70 picks I've put a steamy dump on.
Many more than that. And then
just because I have a complaint doesn't mean that I hate it.
You just took a big giant. Just unloaded on Sonic's chest.
I'll be IGN from now on. Everything's a 9 out of 10. Nothing is great. Nothing's a masterpiece. Nothing is shit. Everything's 9 out of 10. Is that what you want? Do you not want like a critical review? Do you not want me to say what I think of the movie?
I mean, I just came into this.
Do you want me to stop picking good movies? Do you want me to do what you're doing and we'll just have a weekly podcast where we talk about shit?
I mean, if that's how... I mean, in the words of the great John Cena...
My next 8 picks are going to be Quentin Tarantino movies.
Okay, that's fine. In the words of the great John Cena, it's going to be what it's going to be. So, I'm not going to really focus on that too much. Anyway, thank you to Dumbest Sphinx, Jared, Daniel, Bobby, and Drake for being Patreon supporters. Obviously, like I said, Dumbest Sphinx in the egg tier. Everybody else is in the gold tier. You guys are awesome. Wait, what?
Bobby's not in the gold tier anymore.
Okay, so Bobby's not in the gold tier. I assume he's in the egg?
He's paying $4 a month, so he's not even in a tier.
Oh, well, then he's in the egg tier. So,
egg tier is $5.
Egg tier is $1.
Oh, yeah, he is an egg tier then.
Yeah, so egg tier. Well, that's cool. Well, look at that.
He's a high tier egg tier.
Yeah, like he's a really big egg. He's like a jumbo egg. But I appreciate that.
Egg.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Bobby. So thank you. And if you guys are wondering what your money went towards this month, obviously podcast hosting, but also renewing our domain name, deadchannelduo.com, which is a good segue into, you go there and you can find us on every platform where we're available. If you can't support us monetarily, there's a few things you can do that are free. You could subscribe to us on YouTube. You could leave us an iTunes review, or you could tell a friend about the show. That's always free and great way to get the word out there about DCD. Our stats are really low lately, and I'm feeling very discouraged. I basically feel like, sometimes I just feel like this podcast is like a movie that I pick for DCD Film Club. It doesn't have a very good chance of succeeding. And if you could tell a friend about the show, I feel like it might have a better chance of succeeding. So that's it. That's all I got. Andy, anything else before we get out of here, man?
It really sounds like a you problem. Like, I don't know. Maybe if you pick better movies. I don't know. That's it.
No, that's fair. That's fair. And I am actually, that's going to be it for DCD 80, whatever the hell this is. And we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening. And I'm about to hang up on Andy because he's a real jerk and he hates everything that I pick.
That's not true at all.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening.